Welcome, everyone, to a really intriguing discussion on one of the themes in the larger subject of people at work, driven by data, distributed by design. I am so excited to have today, in fact, our entire team is excited to have with us Wagner. Wagner is the head of capabilities and future of work at Prudential. And his team leads some very interesting and leading edge work in organization design, of course, related to future of work, career paths, upskilling, reskilling, and the really fast developing area of workforce analytics. So very happy to have Wagner, you with us. And I know you have some very interesting ideas on the subjects that we are going to discuss. So as you know, our work on people at work is actually driven by the idea that the future workforce, in fact, the current workforce already, is distributed now. It's not now in one place. And this change has come upon us quite suddenly, even though it was building. But what we know now is that even though this change was sudden, it is here to stay. So one of the big themes we want to explore, Wagner, is that when the workforce is distributed, what does it mean to create a great employee experience? We have some idea. Go ahead.
I think there are a lot of ideas, but thank you so much for having me today, because I believe that what you said is exactly what we should be doing, distributed by design. That is the intention. So I think what's emerging is exactly that the employee experience becomes a concern of all leaders, because we will have platforms, we will have the digital tools, but we need to create a culture that's conducive for a hybrid workplace, because the future is going to be a hybrid workplace. So you're exactly right. Distributed teams, we are going to have to pay attention to multi-generational needs. We are going to have to pay attention to people's capabilities and the need to build those capabilities as we grow our ability to collaborate virtually. So it's not easy, it's more complex, but I think at the end of the day, it becomes part of every leader's concern to create a positive experience through interactions.
So let me just pick on that, Wagner, a positive experience through interactions. Just that last sentence you said. Our work shows that a lot of that creation of positive experience and indeed interactions can now be technology driven. Yeah. And onboarding can be seamlessly end-to-end technology driven. And more we are finding that HR people need to focus on experiences rather than processes. Yes. And in doing so, they actually need to build some product development skills. So when an experience comes through an app, how do you design a user journey? How do you create a good tactile or visual feel? How do you drive towards something which can help you continuously improve that experience through collection of data? So what is your view on positive experiences and interactions through technology?
That's interesting, because again, the workplace becomes a hybrid workplace, but the experience is a blended experience as well. Because I think I would say three things. One is, as you can see, we are in each other's rooms, in our personal environment, in our homes. So I get to know you. There is more intimacy in the interaction through a virtual platform like this one. So I know about your needs. I know what you like, what you dislike. I see if you have your pets, your family members around. I start getting to know you much more deeply than as if we are in very gray offices. So that's number one. So we need to pay attention to the quality of interactions. Number two, when you create a product, now we need to create a product based on the employee experience and the employee needs. So co-creating the product with our employees is the only way that you achieve the ultimate goal, which is a great positive employee experience. Employees are the only ones who can tell us what the experience, if it is positive or negative. So we have to continuously iterate, continuously co-create, and the end product is going to be a co-creation between HR, us, leaders, and our employees. And the third thing is, yes, we need to use technology. We need to be creative in how we utilize technology. You think about workplaces where we can have fun, we can do things together, but actually there are a lot of ways in which we can create the same experience using technology and using data. Machine learning is something that we are exploring a lot in Future of Work. Machine learning gives you probably 40% of the knowledge you need to create the experience. Then you need the leaders to use that knowledge not to standardize, but the reverse, personalize. And only humans can create the personalization that creates trust and builds culture.
So let me pick two really important points in what you said, and one I'll pick from the middle of what you were saying and one from slightly towards the end. I'll try to connect the two. So you made a really important point that in this world, when we interact with each other through or from our personal spaces, we build more intimacy and trust. Who would have known that that would be possible 8-9 months ago? When we were sitting opposite each other in offices, people would have said, no, remote work will actually reduce trust and intimacy, but instead the opposite has happened. The other point that you made was about co-creation of applications through employees' efforts. So my question to you is that as we go forward, do you think that more and more the employee experience will reach higher and higher levels because it will iterate? In the past, there were anecdotes, people interacted, and it all dissipated. Now, you can actually build on what the employee has clicked on or looked at or likes and take it to another level. And also, it'll reflect, actually, most people say that once it becomes tech, it becomes impersonal, but an app can probably reflect who you are as a leader. How you make an employee go through a journey may reflect what you believe about your culture, your values, and about employees themselves.
Yes, that's exactly it. Because one thing everybody's doing, leveraging technology to facilitate work in collaboration. We're all doing that. But we need that frictionless experience, just like we do for our customers. And then we need to differentiate. So it becomes table stakes. Technology becomes table stakes. Customers expect the experience to be frictionless. And then we need to differentiate through what's your company's identity? What is the cultural norms? How do people experience being there? And how satisfied they are in delivering the value to the customer? So what I'm trying to say is, we use AI, we use data-driven elements to really create knowledge. But then we have to create the moments. A moment comes from when an employee asks for help when they have a crisis at home. A moment comes when it's the first day at work. A moment comes from failure. How do we deal with the failure when somebody tells you that they fail? So it's those really personal moments through technology, through the platforms, that will create the perception for the employee. And we need to be much more attentive to that, I think.
Yes. Now, my very structured way of thinking, Wagner, is trying to layer what you said. So what you're saying is that at one level, there is the table stakes of experience. Every app will have that. Mm-hmm. But then on the basis of what you believe as a company and your leadership believes about employees, you will create a differentiated layer on the table stakes itself. But then the real special evidence of your culture will come in those big moments when you are able to actually respond to either a crisis or an unexpected, unusual event. Yeah. Are you saying that that response, by definition, will have to be personal or in person, or there's a role of technology in that too?
I think there's a role in technology. For example, when you send, I was just talking this morning about these recognition programs. 10 years ago was about giving plaques for people to put in their walls, right? Yes. We recognize people. Now it's about sharing stories through social media. Now
Wow,
it's
that's
about
right.
sharing successes and elevating people by exposing them to senior leaders. So the technology now allows us to really elevate the experience, not diminish.
So, you know, you're actually motivating me a lot into one direction, which is my favorite direction. That yes, I keep thinking of how we as normal people follow celebrities or sports people and feel connection with them,
Yeah.
even though we have never met them and probably have no chance of meeting them. Do you think leaders within companies will be able to build technology-based personalities and connections with people? Just like you and I having a video,
Yes.
what if I created many videos of myself for my teams, for the entire organization, which reflected who I am, and people were able to connect with me?
Yes. But what's coming through as we speak to me is think about leadership, how critical leadership development becomes, how critical becomes for us to build the capabilities in our managers. How do we move managers from the need to observe performance to inspire performance, to coach? Because nowadays we can get information anywhere. Employees don't need managers to know what's happening. Sometimes
Yeah.
employees know better than managers. So managers now have a different role. They are basically coaches of a whole person. They need to understand that the person has personal needs. That's why resilience is going to be important. That's why managers have to be resilient themselves. And we need to provide the enablement so they feel that they're equipped to do this. It's not going to be easy. I think it's becoming more complex for leaders because you talk about creating that connection. You only create the connection when you are really truthful. People perceive when leaders don't care. So leaders need to be really self-reflective to understand what's their role in this. And their role is to know themselves, allow themselves not to be perfect, but not deviate from their values, their integrity, and their authenticity. So they're sharing power. Think about that. We are sharing power now. There is no holding power anymore. It's a distributed workforce with shared power.
So that is profound, Wagner. In a distributed workforce, power is also distributed.
Mm-hmm. It
That's
has
what
to
you
be.
just said.
It
And
has to be.
if I, yes, and if I link to what you also said, when power is distributed, the biggest driver of real leadership is authenticity.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you, and I'm not stuck by technology, but when you are constantly interacting with people through technology, I'm not sure whether you need more authenticity or you can get away with less. I'm not so sure. I believe that you need more authenticity because you are always on show, right? You're always visible,
Yeah.
transparent.
Nalin, I think we all do videos. We all like to do videos to introduce promotions, programs, and things like that. I understand that is a role for videos that is scripted and we have everything set up, production and everything. But as you have observed, that's all gone. Even celebrities, they are doing their home videos without makeup. So you see how things are becoming simpler. It's complex to create the experience, but actually the actions of a leader are becoming simpler. You have to be truthful to yourself, show your vulnerability, and really start creating this environment where people are seeing you. They're not seeing the scripted you. So I have an example, Teams. We use Teams from Microsoft, and we did a jam yesterday. It's basically people asking you questions and shouting questions at you, and you have to type as fast as possible to answer them and make sure that you're attentive to everyone. Guess what? This is it. There is no time to think and fake. You're just reacting to the questions and responding. Your true self comes through. So there is no way of hiding.
No, and I actually love that. I love that because it's, you know, that what you're trying to show is that in the new world, with the technology that we have, there are many more forces of good than how most people generally assume that when it is impersonal, it is bad, you know, or when it is not tech, when it is tech, it is bad. Let me ask you one last question, Wagner, because this has been a very interesting conversation, and I really know from my experience that people would like us to continue talking, but we have to close. So I'll ask you one question. In light of what we've said, creating great workplaces, cool workplaces where there are multicolored bean bags, water fountains, billiards and pool tables, gyms, free cafeterias, is that not required anymore when you are not going to a workplace?
I wouldn't go as far as saying not required. I don't think they ever been required. But I think if you think about creating experiences, now you need to think about the well-being physically, spiritual, emotionally. You need to equip people to be more resilient, because resilience creates a space for people to create better collaboration, high performance. So it's very difficult right now for people to absorb all the data and really balance themselves to be at their best. It's very hard right now. So what we create is these hybrid workplaces. So we go into a workplace for co-creation, for example. You might not go every day, but the environment has to be conducive to creativity, conducive to personal experiences, and relief from this stress that we are experiencing. So I do like bean bags. I do like the playgrounds that we create, because
Right.
it is an experience that allows us to reduce the stress so we can be at our best. But I don't think it's a driver of value. I truly don't believe that. I believe it's a driver of relief.
That's a great way to put it. I love your perspective, and I love that you're driving me to a more balanced view of the future, where I think the greater force of technology multiplied by the already existing pluses of what we have, including the multicolored bean bags, is where the future will be. And I think based on our conversations, we can safely conclude that it will be a positive one, I think. Yeah. And we are moving to a better, even though it may not feel like that, to a better future. So thank you very much, Wagner, for this really intriguing conversation. It was about a very interesting, important subject as we go forward. I would request all viewers to join us on October 28th, where we will explore even more themes on our subject of people at work, driven by data, distributed by design, where we will have Wagner once again in a panel, and we will have also other leaders, and we will explore other themes. So October 28th, do join us at the summit. Thank you very much, Wagner, for joining us today, and see you there again.
You are very welcome. I really enjoyed the conversation. And I have to say, this is an iterative process. We are co-creating the future of work together. So I can't wait to be there with you on October 28th. Thank you.
Thank you very much.